Hello and welcome to Tai'Shar Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Will.
We are here to have a little discussion about the television program that is soon to be upon us.
Yes.
Maybe a little mailbag. Just a reminder before we get into it, if you would so choose, you can certainly donate to our podcast at our website, tsmpodcast.com. There is a donate button. If you would like, we would appreciate it. If not, happy to have you. Next week, we will be finishing up The Great Hunt, so please tune into that. And after that, we're going to take a little break, return sometime mid-September. Although we do reserve the right to return to discuss the trailer should it drop anytime in that period, which it seems like it very well might.
Right.
We'll do a bit of a breakdown frame by frame, like Snoop Dogg doing the Planet Earth documentary. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to let Snoop Dogg cover this one. I'm going to let him sub in for me.
Yeah.
He's doing the Olympics with Kevin Hart, and it's pretty amazing. Yep. We might come back with an off-topic episode after our break, but otherwise we'll come back and dive into Winter's Heart.
All right.
Yeah. So, Will, if you'd like to take us away and discuss some things that are happening.
So these are totally out of order. It's been a minute since we've had a show update, and so there's actually a fair amount of tidbits to cover.
Yeah, I feel like some of this stuff happened like right after we did the last one.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. That's definitely the case. So one thing that I didn't actually put in my notes, but it happened right after we did our last show update, was the next little teaser trailer that had the logo.
Right.
That happened, I think, 2 days after our last. Yeah.
It was.
And we even said
Wednesday.
something about the trailer might drop this week or something, and then there it comes. So which it could drop, the full trailer could drop this week for all we know.
Right.
There wasn't a ton out of that. That was when they confirmed that it would be releasing this year. We also get to see the logo, which it's funny because it's been over a month, so we've kind of been sitting with it, so it feels kind of passé. But I like it. I like the look of it.
I do too. Yeah. Worked well.
Yeah, I like that it's different.
I was going to say it's not the same as like the book logo.
It feels very reminiscent of the book logo, but
right.
It's kind of like its own thing.
Yeah,
and I kind of like that. Like,
I could see somebody being upset about that, but I'm
sure. Yeah, I don't. I mean, like, to me, for one thing, while I like the logo, the book logo, with the serpent in the wheel, the infinity and everything, it's to me, it's a little busy. It feels kind of 80s, 90s for some reason for me.
Sure.
And
yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, I didn't like look at the poster or the logo reveal and think, oh my stars and garters, they didn't use the the book layout. I just was like, oh, hey, logo, cool, yeah.
When the teaser came out, a friend of mine who is a bit of a little more casual fan than I guess I am. He's only read the first few books. He messaged me and was like, "Did you see the news about the release date?" And I was like, "Oh, did they actually put a release date?" But he was just referring to the fact that it's confirmed 2021.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, we pretty much knew that."
Yeah. If that didn't happen, that would have been bigger news.
Right. Like I think I had said like there was an outside chance it could be January of next year.
Sure. Yeah. You even called like that it would be before the holidays.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, here we are.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's just dive right into the poster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your reaction to the poster?
I love it. Yeah. Got no beef there for me. Certainly it's the Waygate that we've seen in previous like leaked photos or whatever.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah. There again, we get things narrowed down a little bit to November, and as you said, Sam, called it. Yeah, we pretty much said November, was looking pretty likely based off of the information we had gotten leaked out. I think most Wheel of Time content creators were kind of thinking that was going to be the ballpark.
Yeah.
So again, not a huge surprise there, but also very exciting to have that confirmed because
heck yeah.
It's on the closer side of like I said, I had been concerned we could see it as late as January, but to have it, like you're saying, we're looking before the holidays now. That's exciting to me. The prospect of being able to watch this with friends and family over like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, for real. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. The poster itself, as Sam said, we've got the Waygate. Now, there are a lot of people. It's funny to me that this was even like a question. Like we had this image leaked a while back, and back then people were like, "Is that the Waygate, or could it be?" Some people
like
were
part
saying,
of a set piece from like Camelin or something.
Yeah, I don't know,
like a green screen thing.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, and or could it be a somebody even threw out a portal stone, which I'm like, that's just not.
That's just completely wrong. Yeah, you could have seen it being like ruins from some,
right?
I mean, like something in Shade or Logoth, maybe.
Right.
Like there's a couple of ways it could have gone. Not a portal stone though. Sorry, folks.
Right. Yeah. And then, so when it came out, you still had people asking the question, like, is it the Waygate?
Sure.
Because it is a little different.
It's not, right. It's not exactly the way it's described in the book.
But here's the thing. We know it's the Waygate. Let me tell you how. I'm glad you asked. It's because in the metadata, there is a description for the vision impaired.
Okay.
And it says in that description that this is Moraine standing at the entrance of a Waygate.
Very good. So, set those arguments to rest.
Right. It is a Waygate. This is what the Waygates are going to look like. And it's just funny how people can like major on the minors. Now, there are details that I love in these books that I know are not going to be in the show.
I'm sure people are like, where's the Avendasora leaf?
Exactly. Yeah. That people have been asking all over the place. Where
maybe it's not in the shot, Kyle. Jeez.
Right, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I kind of be shocked if there isn't some mention of the.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a MacGuffin for how they turn it on. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like a little. It could be tiny too. It doesn't have to be huge. It might be small enough that it's just. Which that to me almost makes more sense. Like if there's an Avendasora leaf that is enormous and sitting in the middle of some big stone wall, some kid is going to have wandered into the ways. Like,
right.
Because he just walked up. What's this?
Well, I'm going to take that thing and move it over here. Yeah.
Right. Oh, this would be a very common occurrence where people just wander into the ways on accident because there's this very obvious key. Yeah, I'm thinking there's probably. It's probably going to be in there. It's probably just not, featured in this shot.
Right.
But even so, there are going to be details that are aside from just being different, are occasionally going to be omitted, and it may be budgetary reasons. It may be, hey, it just didn't work visually on screen.
Yeah.
One of the things, you and I have talked about, Matt's dice rolling in his head. Well, that's a huge part of the book. And in my, suggestion has been like, make it evident based off of music.
Sure.
But even so, it is the exact kind of thing that could be completely omitted from the TV show.
Yeah.
And it would be, like, oh man, it's too bad. That was kind of an important part of the book, but it's an example of the kind of thing that
it's like we've said, there's some people that are not going to be happy no matter what.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's like, it might be different groups of people depending on the thing, but like, that's just, you're going to have to make choices to make a TV show out of a book. And some of those choices other people might not have made, but they didn't make the TV show. Rafe did.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. There is a degree to which it's like we're all having to accept that this is going to be different. This isn't,
this isn't the movie that played in your head when you read the book.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you go into it with that attitude, you can have fun. Rather than going into it with the attitude of, I am going to hate this if it isn't exactly what I expect it to be.
Precisely.
Now, we still reserve the right to cast stones if it is not at all what we want it to be.
Yeah, don't worry, guys.
We will not pull our punches. We're not being paid by Amazon in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we're gonna let them know if we think that they screwed it up. Back to the poster, and if you haven't seen the poster yet, I'd be a little surprised, but it's on all of the Wheel of Time everything. That if you follow anything
Yeah, I saw it on like 2 or 3 like nerdy websites,
Right.
like
Yeah.
one after another. Like, oh, these are all the places I go, and all of them have some article about the poster.
Exactly. Even, I mean, it's getting a lot of coverage just out in the nerdosphere, if I can.
Yep.
I don't think I coined that phrase, but I haven't heard it. So maybe,
Sure.
there you go. But one thing that I saw some folks talking about with the poster is at the bottom, there are these little tendrily.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah.
I was like, is it just weeds that are out? Like, is it grass?
Right.
Like in front of the shot, or is it something else like the One Power or something?
Yeah. Yeah. In the follow-up discussion from the Comic-Con panel, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, on the Dusty Wheel, the folks on there, which Daniel Green joined on there to discuss it, they pretty much all were in agreement that these were representatives of Weaves of the Power.
Yeah.
And that does track with when Rosamund Pike posted the little thing that said this is what Weaves might look like. It actually looks kind of like those. So this may be the first little glimpse at, kind of what
channeling.
Yeah. And it's also kind of cool because if you look closely, you see that there are multiple colors represented.
Yes,
and
indeed.
so that might answer the question. We've talked about this before.
Will we be different?
Right,
the different elements. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're right. Exactly.
Powers,
if we'd be able to see the different weaves of air and water and spirit.
Yeah, you can see like the blue one maybe being water. Yeah. I still think there's a chance that whoever's holding the camera, their hair is just kind of blowing in the wind. Got in front of the lens.
Right. It could be just some dust and hairs that got trapped in the exposure, when they were copying it out. And they're like, oh, well, gosh, we don't have the budget since Bezos stepped down as CEO anymore. And, fix this. It's so exciting to see. She is Moraine. There's just no, and a lot of the commentaries I've seen about the poster don't talk a lot about her because it's.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say if there are problems with this TV show, they will have nothing to do with her.
Right. Yeah.
Unless she just gives up being an Aes Sedai to go, be a clown or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think Moraine's going to be perfect. And one of the things that is interesting to me is how in all the descriptions everywhere, because they put out the same description that they've been putting out, the official description of the TV show with the poster
She's
everywhere.
At the center of it.
Yes. She is listed as the lead, which I'm not bothered by. It's just kind of an interesting choice.
Yep.
It makes sense in one way. It's kind of it kind of goes along. Oh, we didn't give our
a spoiler warning. Yeah, I know. And I know what you're even going to say, but yes, listeners, apologies. If you're worried about spoilers in any way, shape or form, haven't finished the books, or you've read all of them and forgotten some and, want to read them like you're reading them for the first time, probably better to check back with us next week when we finish up the Great Hunt. So consider yourself spoiled and go ahead, Will.
All right. So the thing that I was going to say is when somebody put it up side by side with the posters for The Witcher and Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, the iconic Game of Thrones poster, who is in the middle of...
No, it's Ned Stark, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so I was like, that
works pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, that works pretty well in comparison because it actually does kind of set us up for that same kind of bait and switch.
Even though it's a bit further along.
Yeah.
Although, the way they're going, the pace that they're going, it isn't that far into
That's
it's not going to be the end of season 1, but season 3 or 4 or something
I'd say season 3 is,
I can see that.
It's either the end or somewhere. It could be like kind of a mid-season thing, even the way that they're.
Yeah, they could mix it up a little bit, and that would be depending. I guess also depending on Rosamund's schedule.
Right, that's true. To me, I'm like, that does make sense because it's not like anyone knew who Kit Harington was.
Exactly. The rest of the cast, most of the rest of the cast is no names, and so give them a chance to kind of find their footing. With the star power of Rosamund, just like Sean Bean.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty good strategy. There's a lot of ways in which I hope they don't take cues from Game of Thrones. That's actually one that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. It's a good
So,
point, though. I'm with you on that. We don't
and it-
want a Wheel of Time by way of Game of Thrones.
yes.
No. Game of Thrones 2, the Wheel of Timing. No, it's not.
Any other thoughts on the poster before we move on?
Yeah, I guess I never pictured it quite. I don't know, quite like this, but that I'm sure that's what everyone says, and
Right.
I am gonna continue to go into the show with an open mind and an open heart, and
Yes.
yeah, it's pretty great. Great that we have a poster. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to the Comic-Con panel, I wanted to talk about the latest bit of hot goss.
Aha.
I sent you this, Sam, just yesterday. This is fresh, folks.
Right, yeah. This is actually not from a month ago.
Right, yeah. Actress Sierra Coveney showed up in an Instagram post along with Maddie, Zoe, and Hamad, and it was promptly taken down, like really quickly. And so this has turned a few people's heads that are the kinds of folks who watch these things.
She's a redhead, or like golden, whatever.
Yeah.
The right color hair is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. What Up reports that other trusted sources have seen her on set, and that she is likely to be playing Elaine Tricond.
All right.
So I'm sure she's about to gain a ton of Instagram followers.
Yep.
On her Instagram, it's confirmed she is in Prague. So at the very least, it seems safe to say that she's involved in the show. I'd say she's definitely available to play a major role, as her only experience on IMDb is 3 short films.
Right.
She's not doing much. I watched her acting reel, and I could totally see her working as Elaine. She has a very proper British accent that totally could sound like the noble.
This is hilarious. Like that, I said the thing about the hair. Apparently, people are saying she has the wrong color hair. But like, no, I mean, I've always pictured kind of strawberry blonde is what that's. So
right.
I mean, okay, maybe it's like a little bit too red, but also people can change their hair color. So
well, yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. Several people actually said that they saw her working better for Avienda, and apparently somebody had, which I'm like, had like cast her as
oh really, that's interesting.
Which is bizarre, because I'm like, who
how did you find this?
She's an absolute no name. But yeah, I mean, okay, for one thing, like Sam says, she could dye her hair,
right.
For another thing, it's like, to me, it's okay if it's not, if it's more red. The main thing is, I'm not as concerned with her having too red a hair, as much as I'm like, well, the Aiel have to have like fiery red hair, like all of them.
Yeah.
It's got to be very clearly different. And also they made a point to dye Yosha's hair like a really bright red. So anyway, apparently Maddie posted a photo on her Instagram that showed Yosha with a shaved head, and I think he actually posted something else that showed him with a shaved head, but of course it could have been from earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Has people wondering if this has something to do with the show. I actually wanted to like throw out there, I'm like, it may be that they swapped him to wearing a wig.
Yeah, that would also make perfect sense. And if they're going to try to be consistent or whatever.
Right, exactly. It's easier to keep a wig consistent, and he may have requested it. It's sometimes it's really as an actor to be able to just slap on a wig rather than having to keep your hair dyed and keep it trimmed and everything. It'd be a lot easier. So but just like pretty much all the girls we know are wearing wigs. They all have their hair cut real short and everything, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that was like a big question for us. Like, hey, you're supposed to be Elaine at some point in this book, so what's going on? And maybe we have our answer.
Yes, yeah, it's exciting.
Still sounds like it could be later than it happens in the books. depending
Right.
on, since they've filmed all of season 1 at this point. But
Right. And in one of his Q&As, Rafe did, when somebody asked, what character are you excited about appearing in season 2 that didn't appear in season 1? And he said begins with an EL, which
right.
which we thought was actually pretty clever
Right,
because,
because it can be multiple. Yep.
yeah, it could be Elaine,
Lida.
Elida, or even Elias.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get
All three.
all three, yeah. Since we hadn't had casting on any of those yet.
Had that one chambered.
Yeah.
You got to ask that.
Yeah, I think he thought through like that somebody had maybe on set they realized like all of the big parts that we're adding this season. Yeah, that's funny. So that's exciting, because it's been a long time since we've had major casting news. Since obviously, we
sure.
been everything pretty much has come out from season 1. So that was just fun to even have that possibility. Of course, we'll find out. I'm sure soon they'll make some kind of announcement now that it's kind of gotten leaked out there, if indeed that is the role she's playing. So on to the Comic-Con panel. I'm putting air quotes around panel.
Yeah.
Like, is it really a panel if it's one person? Isn't it just an interview at that point?
Right.
As I mentioned, the Dusty Wheel did a pretty thorough unpacking of the panel. And if you want to check that out, you can go to their YouTube channel while you're over there. You can, on YouTube, you could type in Tai'Shar and subscribe to our channel. And there's a very thorough kind of breaking down of this panel. Did you get to see it? I think you
I just read a transcript.
Okay.
And it's funny, like I didn't even realize it was happening until I saw a headline was like, Rafe mispronounces Moraine's name. Like,
oh yeah,
what in the world?
There's been this whole discussion.
Like a weird headline to see.
Yeah, over is it Moiraine or Moraine, or and somebody went and found a clip of
the pronunciation guide in the book.
Been this whole back and forth over it. Look, as long as it's not like really crazy outside like Sam's original pronunciation.
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
It was Moraine, wasn't that what you said?
That is exactly it.
Yeah. That's special. No, I mean, I'm not going to be too upset if it is pronounced Moiraine. Let me talk first about and there isn't a ton of like new information on this.
I didn't realize I didn't put together the fact that his initials were RJ. This is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I hadn't either. But despite the lack of new information, I had 2 takeaways, and I want to talk about the one that concerned me first.
Sure, please.
So I can get that over with. Now, I mean, he talked a lot about how much he loves the books and what he likes about the books and everything. One of the things he said was that the books aren't about good versus evil, but instead about balance. And
it was definitely is though. I mean, right, there's a demonic volcano that's trying to destroy the world.
Yeah, and they're trying to stop it. I mean, like, I won't even say I get what he's saying because I
want him to unpack it. Like, just what? Yeah, please defend that a little more. Say more things about that.
Yeah. I would like to hear is like, what does that mean to you? Because like that concerns me a little bit because it's, to me, clearly the show is about good versus evil. That's not to say that there aren't aspects of this kind of karmic balance, but it's very clear even in the whole thing of, we've called spoilers, so I'm going spoilers.
Please, yeah.
Even in the thing of towards the end, when we kind of discover the Dark Lord can't fully be defeated, he can only be, kind of trapped out of our reality. That to me it's like there's no amount of the Dark Lord that we want to seep into our world. It's not like
shut him out.
Yeah, it's like keep him out of here.
It's like smoking just a little bit of crack. No, sorry.
Right. Yes. No. Yeah, exactly. I guess that concerns me a little bit because it's a pretty big difference from at least the way that I see the books. Now, it was one comment, and who knows, it may not have any bearing on,
Sure. But it is the showrunner saying it.
Exactly.
So it's like,
that's the only reason why I'm like,
by that, bro.
yeah. And up to this point, pretty much everything Rafe has said, I've been like, yeah, I think, I think I'm on board. Like even the stuff that it's like, okay, well, that's a little different, but I think I can get behind
capturing the spirit of things correctly.
Right. That's the first time that I'm like, I think I disagree with you there. And the symbol of the Aes Sedai is basically the yin and yang symbol, and so there is a sense in which it's an understanding of the symbol of the ancient Aes Sedai. Let me fix that before somebody comes after me. The symbol for Saidin and Saidar, the dragon fang and the flame of Tarvalon,
certainly balancy there.
Right, yeah,
yin yang,
is a very yin yang kind of thing, and so there is an aspect of balance to this.
Sure.
Between,
but that's not the thrust of the narrative.
Exactly.
I think it's worth. I found the transcript. I think it was worth reading this out. Just see what you think. So the question was, let's talk thematically. What do you think sets the Wheel of Time apart from other fantasy series out there? What do you think fans are going to enjoy the most about it? His response: the thing that always defined Wheel of Time was both its characters and its world, and those are the two things I try to stay the most true to. Those are the things that drew people in and made them read these books over and over again, and give them to their friends, and come back year after year for 14 novels. The specialness that exists in those characters in that world, my job is to figure out how to most effectively bring that to TV. Thematically, a story that is really about balance is something that's meaningful in the world, I think. With our world being divided and hyperpolarized, just refreshing to see a fantasy series where it's not so much good versus evil, but as balance versus imbalance. That is a message that is worth writing about now, and something that is meaningful.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like it sounds like he's acknowledging what he's staying true to. He says the things he stays true to are the characters in the world. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's obviously good, and 90% of that I'm very excited about. So I don't want to harp too much on.
Yeah, but I think it's a good thing to emphasize or kind of bring up.
I just think the whole idea of it, this is about balance versus imbalance. It's I don't know if I'm on board with that. And I mean, like, I think there's an aspect of it. I think that is a theme, because I think
sure.
Yeah, I think what the Dark One's taint has done is caused an enormous amount of imbalance.
Yeah, like with the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah, the weather being an obvious one. I mean, just the fact that
men can go insane.
Yeah, that the society has become basically a female-led society. Many of the monarchs are female and everything. I actually kind of would be curious to see if they really show that as like, hey, what if this kind of what if question. It's like, okay, hey, in our world, I think a lot of people agree that there's too much men being in charge of everything.
Yes.
So here we have a world where it's like, what if there was a world where there's too much women being in charge of everything?
Sure.
How would that be different? Probably would be better off in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah. But it's a thought experiment, though.
Yes. And so I kind of actually, from that standpoint, I think that's interesting thematically. I just don't think it replaces, as he kind of seems to infer, that this is good versus evil.
Yeah. It needs to unambiguously be to some degree.
Right. I mean, because the Dark Lord is the Dark Lord. It is that trope, and I feel like failing to see that misses out on both the fact that the Wheel of Time has this insane ability to me to be very tropey in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
While also taking it and then putting a totally new spin on it.
Sure, yeah. And sometimes you don't even realize the trope is there because it's Wheel of Time-ified.
Right, exactly. I mean, the big one is Taviran.
Just like blatantly kind of like waving the flag of plottiness, plot armor, and like, no, but like we're serious. This is a thing in our books, and it's a magic key.
Exactly, and
there's some power in that,
Oh yeah, I mean, and to me, they're just
Jon Snow didn't have what Jon Snow was not Taviran.
Right. Well, and then, I mean, it reminds me of the moment in The Force Awakens where it's like, hey, we'll use the Force. That's not how the Force works.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many times where you want to say that when people are like explaining plot holes in Star Wars by like, I don't know, the Force maybe. I don't know.
Right. But it is how Ta'Veren works.
Exactly. It is exactly how Ta'Veren works. Is like pretty much everything that you're like, but what? Oh yeah, well he's Ta'Veren. That's why.
Yeah.
And I mean, you like legitimately have a reason why that is written
in plot, in canon reason.
So anyway, like I said, I've harped too much on this. It's not a huge deal, but it is just like the first thing that I've thought, if that's really a major like thing to him, then I think he and I might disagree on that. Now that doesn't mean it's going to have
It doesn't mean it's like going to ruin the show for you. But.
No, but that was the first time I've heard Rafe say something that I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm on board. But having said all this, I mean, still listening to it, I was very excited, and I was especially excited to have 8 seasons confirmed. Now, an 8-season plan confirmed.
Yeah.
I think we may have reported on a rumored 8-season plan.
I think so. I vaguely remember us talking about something like that.
Yeah, I don't even remember where I got that from, but this is the first time that we've had it actually confirmed by Rafe himself that before they even wrote the pilot episode, he sketched out a 8-season kind of arc for this is how the whole show could be planned out. It's almost humorous to me how, I mean, that mirrors, a certain other show we may have already brought up.
Right.
That could have benefited from a plan ahead of time.
Yeah. Lost. You're talking about, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Lost. Exactly. Yes. Actually, I think I may have mentioned this last time, how JJ has recently been quoted as saying, I'm realizing it's good to have a plan ahead of time. Or something like now that he has like multiple things under his belt where it started off really strong and then just kind of like, okay, where do we go from here?
Exactly.
But that's exciting to me. Of course, the books have everything you need to create a successful show. I think there would be temptation to veer more from the books and milk the premise and everything if you weren't intentional about saying up front, here's what we're doing, here's the finite amount of time that we're going to do it in,
right?
We've got all of this.
Sketch it out. So then you just have to fill in the details. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, the fact that the material is there, it really helps that all the books are written. That.
Yes.
Like it felt like in the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, they went from basing a TV show on books to basing a TV show on notes, and that's what they did.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that the last couple of seasons felt more like fan fiction. Mm-hmm. Even if you have some loose notes, you're not going to have the depth of story, those details. And it's really the details in fantasy. It's really the details that, to me, bring a lot of the richness of the world together.
Definitely.
Robert Jordan, of course, famous for getting caught up in details that
true.
Right. That do not matter. I can't remember. One time years ago, I saw on writing prompts on Reddit, somebody put a writing prompt that was like, write a story where the narrator keeps getting caught up in details that have nothing to do with the and then somebody commented is like, well, I don't have a story for you, but you could try reading The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan.
Oh, dang.
It's like, oh, wow.
It hurts because it's true.
Yes. But I will say, I mean, and obviously we love the story. So,
oh, yeah. It's like we said, you kind of have to lead with that if you're recommending it.
Yeah, it's kind of part of it. Here's a page spent on a dance from the Age of Legends, and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I believe Matt was recalling it in a memory.
Exactly. Or let's talk about the dresses. Always room to talk about dresses. Anyway, mostly I want to emphasize, even though I talked for a while about a thing I was concerned about, I'm the reason why I'm not talking about a lot of the stuff is because a lot of these things he's talking about elsewhere.
It's nothing new, yeah.
Yeah, and it's stuff we're excited about, and want to see the show. I'm trying, to not lay any judgment before we see the show. When we see the show, we'll have things about it we're not going to like.
We will. We'll have things about it that we do like, because they're making a TV show. They're spending millions of dollars making a TV show out of books we love.
Yes,
so we will enjoy things about it. We may not enjoy everything about it.
I posted this on one of our social media, just that we know that no matter what, even if the show is great, there's going to be people who hate it and people who love it. We're hoping that we're more in the love it camp than the hate it camp is really all it comes down to. I don't like to be that guy that's like looking at.
I'm just pretty bad at disliking things. I walked out of The Matrix Reloaded and I was like, yeah. That was okay. I enjoyed it.
I still remember you. I remember you after The Matrix Reloaded. I remember it so well. Yeah. And I didn't hate The Matrix Reloaded, to be clear.
I just remember Tall Paul walking out and being like, that was an awful movie. And I was just like,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Man. The Matrix Revolution was a bad movie, but The Matrix Reloaded, I still would watch that movie.
Yeah. Well, there's fun. There's fun to be had in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The third movie is kind of not as fun.
It's just real bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just disjointed and unpleasant.
Yeah. And kind of tedious at times, like weirdly.
Bad pacing.
For an action movie. Anyway. Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I tend towards wanting to like things.
Yeah.
It's got to kind of set me off a little bit in some way for me to like truly not like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's like a part of the culture that really just like gets a lot of satisfaction from tearing things down. Like it's like, this kind of sophistication, and I've just never bought into that. I don't know. I've never been very good at it. Maybe. Yeah. It just doesn't occur to me to do that.
There's times where I enjoy making fun of a truly bad movie.
Yeah, sure. That's different. Yeah. But you're like enjoying making fun of it. Like,
right. Yeah. I enjoy it differently. It's not as much that I hate it.
Exactly. Yeah. My wife and I last night watched the first two Fear Street movies, and that was a wasted evening. And I mean that in the best way possible.
One of the podcasts that has been around a while, but I only discovered it in the last year, is called How Did This Get Made?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You've mentioned that. I think I've listened to one.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Surf Ninjas or something.
It's a great podcast where they just make fun of, or really just talk through really bad movies. And kind of discuss. And sometimes they really will, occasionally they'll even have the director on or
it's writer. Like the opposite of the movies that made us, because those are like the seminal great hits, the Netflix show, which is great. I love that. I just watched the Back to the Future one the other day, but it is probably more entertaining to have the stinkers.
I recently listened to the one about Face Off, and
that's a great choice.
Yes, I highly recommend that episode. And then I watched Hercules in New York, or listened to Hercules in New York.
Oh my gosh!
Which apparently was Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie.
Wow.
Yeah, and so much so that as most people I think would agree, Schwarzenegger is not an easy name. That's not gonna make it, right? Like,
right.
So he's credited as Arnold Strong.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
They gave him,
stage name.
A stage name, yeah. And in the original cut, apparently, I'm sorry guys, we're going off topic, but
it's happening.
I gotta bless you with this. In the original cut, they dubbed over all of his lines with this like British actor, and so. Now,
it took a second for that to register.
Yeah. And picture that.
Oh man.
But apparently they have restored it with
his dialogue. Oh man.
Yeah. So you can find it now with his original dialogue. The problem is at some point there's some voiceover that's supposed to be him that they obviously never recorded with Arnold.
Yeah.
And so it's this random other voice, but it's supposed to be the same character. It makes no sense. It's
That sounds great. Sounds sounds like one to check out.
So I recommend that one. So back to Wheel of Time.
Right.
Something that also happened a long time ago. I think it also was confirmed the week after. I think maybe the day after the logo trailer dropped. is season 2 is filming.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Lines up with our casting leak there.
Right. If you're a follower of any other Watt content creators, this is very old news. We haven't talked about it yet.
I didn't even know about it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
news to me.
It's well, I'm glad you could be here.
I am happy to be here.
Yeah. It's exciting that hopefully this means that we'll get less of a break between seasons 1 and 2 to kind of make up for having to wait so long for the first season.
For sure.
It's pretty unusual to have a season 2 confirmed before season 1 releases.
I know, right?
Not unheard of these days, but it's unusual. I can't think of another time where I've ever heard of a show actually shooting its second season before the first season is released.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, part of it is that like some of these early episodes were filmed so long ago now.
Right.
I didn't even know how long ago.
Oh, it's totally COVID. This probably wouldn't be happening.
Right. But it is still pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it does show to me that Amazon has confidence, in the show. Because they probably, they would have said...
They've seen it at least.
Right, yeah.
Whoever has the purse strings has seen it.
Right. I think they would have said, hey, let's hold off and see how this first season does, and we can start filming in January, or whatever. And but they obviously feel like there's money to be made here. So along with that, we already mentioned the gossip about the possible Elaine casting. Some other juicy extra kind of stuff is that the extras agency in Prague, which has been a great source of little tidbits here and there. It's kind of funny because they've got to post stuff. They posted that they are looking for jugglers, acrobats, snake women. I don't know if that's just
somebody with a snake or someone who can
woman
play
with a snake.
I don't understand.
So, I don't know that there may be a word in Czech that. Right.
Not being translated quite right.
Yeah, or something. A real barber and puppeteer and an Irish band with a singer, which I'm like, how common are those in Eastern Europe?
Really. Puppeteer, anyway. I'm a little hung up on that. Like, is the frog bear going to be a puppet? Because that would be okay with me.
I posted this on one of our accounts. I think most people think that it's probably the Foregate Kyrian, which we actually...
Oh, that makes sense.
Just recently in our reread of The Great Hunt actually covered.
Sure.
The puppeteer actually kind of makes sense when you think of that. Because,
all of that would make sense, right? Okay.
Because then you have the Trolloc puppets, everything, and so the whole thing kind of unfolds there. Some folks wondered if we were getting an early appearance of Val and Luca's circus, and then some people are like the taco commercial. Why not both? As folks were saying that, I was like, it does kind of make sense for Val and Luca's circus if you wanted to introduce him earlier, for them to be at the Foregate. But I don't think that's what this is. I think this is just the Foregate.
Yeah, Rafe had said stuff like, you don't want us to, cast a no name and then have to keep him around for a couple of seasons when we can wait and get, whatever, somebody better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever that quote is.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we don't want to cast somebody that might not be available later,
in a couple of years.
Or we'd have to cast somebody, like you're saying, that might not be as high quality an actor. Yeah, I would love for Val and Luca to be whoever cast to be like a big name who's just there for like a single season.
Yeah.
Or even just whatever, 2 episodes or whatever amount they want to have for his arc. If they want to have him show up again later at the end just for the fun of it. One of the fan casts I saw that I know won't happen, but was a funny idea to me was have Ryan Reynolds as Val and Luca.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
picturing someone older and scruffier for some reason.
I'm picturing somebody older too.
That would be great, though.
Another one that I thought of that doesn't fit the old and scruffy, but it would just.
He does have a well-turned calf, right?
So yes, that's true. Yes, it does have a well-turned calf. Yeah, you don't want to make him too old.
Right.
But yeah, one that I thought of, and that isn't at all the picture I had of Val and Luca, but as I thought about it, like it shifted, and it's Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, okay, I could see that for sure.
Like he's such a showman,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Valen Luca is supposed to be kind of a womanizer, and you could see like that Barney kind of
Yep. 100%
character.
Barney. Yep.
That
Yes.
his whole magician and kind of quick talkingness. Anyway, that's not going to happen. But they're going to get some British person that we probably haven't ever heard of, and I'm just going to have to accept that. But but it'll be okay. It'll be fine. It'll be it might be better than I can even imagine. One more little piece of news that you may ask, how is this relevant? So The Green Knight is a movie out right now that's getting real good reviews. Although I will say, I noticed after I wrote these notes that while it has like 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is like 54%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's much more telling.
Yeah. So I might have to scale back. The people that I know who have seen it have been very positive about it. I'm kind of curious to see it myself after I've heard so much about it.
Yeah, for real.
This good news in relationship to Wheel of Time. Well, it is a fantasy, everything, but that's not why.
Okay.
It's good news because it's directed by David Lowery, who is slated to direct 2 episodes of Wheel of Time in season 2.
Hey, cool. All right.
So, as critics and fans are intrigued with this newcomer director, hopefully it'll encourage them to check out Wheel of Time. But also, hopefully, it means that the show will be good.
Yeah. We want good directors. Definitely.
Those are all the notes I had.
Very good. All right. Well, email us if you have any thoughts, anything we've said that you are just yelling at your radio as you're driving down the road. Please let us know. Send us an email via our website or stuff at tsmpodcast.com. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Share around as your friends are trying out the series, especially now, as the show's about to come out. Check us out on YouTube, please. Sometimes we'll post episodes a day early. And so if you hit subscribe there, one day we could get maybe a vanity URL. If it happens, we will do a live stream. Just a little bit of housekeeping as a reminder. We'll be off about a month. We'll pop back on the reaction episode when the trailer drops. Don't worry, we will do that. We won't wait a month after the fact. And otherwise, we'll be back sometime in September. And with possibly off topic, and then we'll dive into Winter's Heart. You can still join us next week. We'll be wrapping up The Great Hunt. And until next time, Tai'Shar Manetheren.